Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
All right, that would be me, the one the choir is singing about. Nice to have you here on the program. A little late this morning. We were dealing with an Instagram outage. Instagram having issues across America communicating with certain platforms, and I was dinking around with Instagram, and then I realized we've got to get going and got to get rocking and rolling here on the show. So we were just doing that for the Instagram family, not on the Instagram this morning, but I was dealing with it, working on it, twiddling with it, tweeting with it, and nothing happened. So we'll figure it out tomorrow, all you IGers out there, the hipsters. Sorry, we're not on the Instagram. We know that makes you very, very, very sad. Not our fault. It's the Instagram's fault. Don't forget that. All right, it's the Tuesday, the first day of July, year of our Lord, 2025. How's everybody doing this glorious day the Lord has made? Rejoice, my friends. Here we are. Many of you take the week off, a short week for some of you. Some of you take only Friday off, the 4th. Some of you take the 3rd off. Some of you take all week off. So whatever the case may be for you, I hope you enjoy it. And don't forget, Independence Day. We celebrate freedom and celebrate America on the 4th of July. All right, lots of good stories out there to get to. And indeed, we shall get to all of them. Also, some great guests on the program today. Anton Chaikin was scheduled to be with us last week. Had some technical issues there. So Anton's going to be on the program. We'll talk about the peace in the Middle East and Iran, and just kind of an overall perspective of where we fit in history in the world of Anton Chaikin. So stand by for that. Laura Carno is on the program today. It is a Carno Tuesday, and you never want to forget the Carno Tuesday. It's a big deal. A lot of folks tune in just for the Carno Tuesday, and then they say to Lakey, screw you, you're out of here. So anyway, Carno's going to be with us this morning, and we will see whether she is in her remote location in her Hollywood trailer that she's residing in as they finish up their new home, or maybe she has found another interesting place. But guaranteed, we'll see if we have a cat sighting, because she is a cat lady, and every once in a while, a cat in the new confines crawls across the back. Always fun to see. Anyway, and we'll also get a tomato update from Laura Carno. If you know, you know. That's all I can tell you. All right, good to have all of you. Oh, Sherry Cree, our great realtor friend, is going to be on the program talking about real estate market, how to choose a realtor, and just kind of what the trends are, not just here in Colorado, but with the economy nationally. How are things progressing? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? We will talk about all of this with Sherry Cree here today on the program. It's Lakey. If you're new to the show, my name is Lakey, and Jimmy Lakey, unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And here we do our own little stream casting together. All right, what are you thinking about the big, beautiful bill? I like it that everybody calls it the big, beautiful bill. I don't know if it's all that beautiful, but it's not as ugly as what could be. And I just see Bob posted up in the chat room, a big, beautiful bill is a big, ugly turd, just like your golden godfather. I guess he doesn't like President Trump. I think he's saying he does like President Trump. Bob, glad to have you tuned in out there. You listen long enough, you'll get your sanity right. You'll get your heart right. No, it's not a great bill, but it's better than nothing. It is better than nothing. And it didn't take us, it took us a long time to get in this hellhole of a mess. And it's going to take a long time to deal out of it. There is a provision in the Senate. Now, the Senate is still voting. They're still putting in they're still putting in amendments, and they're voting, but they're now saying they have the votes on the big, beautiful bill to vote now. There were some holdouts, and a lot of folks didn't know which way it was going to fall. We knew yesterday that Tom Tillis of North Carolina had decided that he was going to be a no vote. So Tom Tillis says no, and because he voted. First of all, let me back up. Yesterday, we said there was a vote. Well, the vote yesterday that they had over the weekend that got Tom Tillis in crosshairs of Donald Trump is a vote that said, should we proceed in the debate? That was all that was. And Tom Tillis and Rand Paul voted not to proceed in the debate. Everybody else said vote in the debate. But it's still in the Senate. Now, overnight, they have been debating now 21 hours, people adding amendments and just kind of bickering and back and forth, and they've been doing it for 21 hours. It's just mega negotiation going on. And what happens is they have the bill from the House, and they're kind of messing it up. And so every tweak they make on this bill, they're going to have to get it back to the House and have some kind of a reconciliation. Now, that's going to be interesting to see what they can do, because the House Freedom Caucus is watching what they're doing in the Senate and say, man, you're raising the debt too much, and we're not going to vote for this. So there's going to be some conflict here, and it's still going on conflict in the Senate. Now, overnight, we knew that Tom Tillis was going to be a no. Rand Paul says he is a no in the Senate from Kentucky. And then you have Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins had jumped in there, and they decided they were going to be no votes. And one of the reasons one of them decided to be a no vote is the fact that they wanted to keep illegals on the Medicaid rolls. That's something that you would think we all could agree on. Not just Republicans, but anybody who's just some kind of a conservative mind says, listen, let's take care of Americans. And if you're here illegal, you're not going to get free health care. We're not going to stick you on the Medicaid rolls and incentivize you to stay here in the greatest country in God's green earth, but we don't need to pay for your health care. Well, the Republicans, even though they have the majority, could not get that bill onto the Senate bill. So right now, the Republicans in the Senate have allowed and are allowing for illegals to stay on the rolls of Medicaid. And so you have Murkowski and Collins fighting to get that off so that the illegals can stay on. You have Rand Paul that is upset about the debt ceiling increase. And so there was talk overnight that maybe if we're going to lose Murkowski and Collins, then maybe we could reduce the impact or how much we're going to increase the debt ceiling, and that would get Rand Paul back on board. So there's a lot of coagulating, if you will, and attempted decoagulating, a lot of whipping going on around there, and they're just trying to get all the ducks in a row. But now they're breaking news that Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma has said they do have the votes to get it out of the Senate. And so while you may herald a victory that the big, beautiful bill is going to get out of the Senate, I have to tell you they're going to have a bit of a fodder in the House of Representatives, because in the House they're going to meet some. They changed up the House bill, and it's a totally kind of a different bill. So again, overall, from the things I've seen in the bill, it's not a perfect bill. I don't like it. Somewhere we need to shrink and make the size of government less. But again, we didn't get here overnight. And I guess the big thing are these tax cuts that would be made permanent. And one of the reasons we're having this big fight over this big, beautiful bill is because in the first term of Donald Trump, when they put in his tax cuts, they put a sunset on them, and they sunset at the end of the year, and we got to get rid of that sunset. And that would be disastrous for you, me, and the economy if our taxes went up that much. The argument about Medicaid, and that's where the Republicans think they're vulnerable, is that they're going to take illegal aliens off Medicaid. And when they do so, the Democrats are going to say something like, look, you cut Medicaid and people are starving and people are dying. Does anybody still buy that anymore? I mean, you don't have to like the Trump bill or the big, beautiful bill or the Republicans, but when these jackwagons and jackasses from the Democrats go on the floor of the Senate, I saw Chuck Schumer do it yesterday, and say grandma's going to die and children will die and people will die because of the Republicans. I guess there's probably some numbnuts out there that actually believes that, but how many times can you say that Republicans are going to throw grandma off the cliff before it actually kind of gets old? I think people hear that stuff on the floor of the House or the floor of the Senate, and they hear that hyperbole and realize it is probably untrue. The same way that Democrats often speak with hyperbole and say that we have 10 years left on the planet. And then 10 years later, they say, well, we got 10 more years and we never seem to burn up the planet. But there's hyperbole out there, because if they can cause you fear and intimidation, then they can control you. And that's what I think you're seeing here, is that they're just trying to stall. By the way, one of the reasons this has taken so long in this debate is that there are also some stall tactics, not just a whipping on the behalf of the Republicans, but there's some stall tactics out there, and people are trying to, Democrats, Chuck Schumer forced the clerks to read all 900 and something pages. That took several hours. So there's a lot of stall tactics, what they think delaying the inevitable. And I don't think it's inevitable. I think it is probable that this bill will pass in some form or fashion. But again, it sounds as if they have made progress in the U.S. Senate, and they now have a vote that's going to happen there, but they're going to have to go back to the House. And the House is more subject to President Trump making a call. The U.S. Senate is a little bit more problematic, and those guys have a little bit more distance. But J.D. Vance, evidently, since about 4:30 Mountain Time, 6:30 Eastern Time, has been on Capitol Hill. He's, of course, the tie-breaking vote in the Senate, should it come to that. And J.D. Vance has been holed up there probably 3 or 4 hours now, just waiting to go to the floor if he needs to and preside over the Senate and cast the tie-breaking vote. So we shall see. Everybody hold on. You got Tom Tillis definitely out, Murkowski, Collins, and then you have Rand Paul. There's some speculation that he might come back in the fold if they change something on the debt ceiling. I don't know, but supposedly they have the votes now. Another shocking report we'll get to. I want to get to my guest here in just a moment. You don't want to miss our guest today. Got a great line. Anton Chaikin going to be on the program. Historian extraordinaire. We'll talk with Anton. Also, Laura Carno makes her usual appearance on a Tuesday edition of the show, and Carno Tuesday. And then we have Sherry Cree, again, talking about real estate. So don't go anywhere, my friends. Lakey has been unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And over the course of this day and the next day, thousands of earballs and even eyeballs will hit and listen to the show. Some people will listen to it in a podcast form. It goes live on a podcast. And as soon as the show's over, if you're on a podcast platform, Apple podcast, if you're on the Podbean, if you're on the iHeart, if you're on the Spotify, why don't you download and listen to this as a podcast? So if you miss a portion of it, let's say in just a moment, you have to check out and you're going to miss an interview with Anton Chaikin. Guess what? You can listen to it later in the day on the podcast. So all your favorite podcast platforms, we are there. Like us, share us, download us, and I appreciate you doing so however you do it, whether you're watching the live portion of the program on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Rumbles, all sorts of platforms out there we're streaming. And again, by the end of the day, thousands of earballs and eyeballs will be gazing upon and earing upon this program, and we appreciate all of you doing that. All right, big plea deal in Idaho, and it's the guy it was those murders of those college kids, and the Kohberger plea deal shocked everybody yesterday. When was the last time you had a good murder charge? You had a real good murder charge, and the person just pled guilty and said, I did it, I'm done, lock me up the rest of my life. The guy's getting 4 consecutive no parole life sentences for the deaths there. But what it is going to do is make sure he's not put to death and executed in the state of Iowa. And I kind of understand the reaction, but I don't understand the reaction. The family, the guy's admitted guilt. He says, I'll take punishment, lock me up forever. And a lot of the families of the victims here are saying, we don't take the plea deal. Go after the death penalty. Give me your opinions on that. Do you agree? There's some people that say that the government, the prosecutor, should not have sought the plea deal, giving the guy 4 consecutive life sentences in the Kohberger deal in Idaho. Don't take the plea deal, go for the death penalty. And yet you could argue that save a lot of time, hassle, taxpayer dollars, etc., and Kohberger's going to be locked up for the rest of his life. It's very unusual that in these situations you have somebody that would just take a plea deal and plead outright guilt and say, I did it, because, they keep hope alive for a mistrial, and the longer they can stay in the courtroom is one less day they have to stay in a prison cell. But Kohberger took the plea deal yesterday in Idaho, and some of the family members and victims' families are a little upset by that. And I can kind of understand it, but I also understand why I think it's good to get that plea deal done. And Kohberger, bye-bye. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Jimmy is my name. And so Jim posted something up on the program. Good morning from Fort Collins, Colorado. Late because I was caught up in a conference committee about neighborhood and upcoming city council elections and about the rabbits. Well, Jim, I appreciate your reporting. It's like Jim showed up late for class, and guess what Jim had to do? Jim had to bring a note to the teacher. Jim, we excuse your absence and your tardiness, and just don't let it happen again. Jim, that's all we can say. Don't let that happen again. Stacy Miller Pratt jumps in and says, Texas gal checking in here for more apple pie recipes. I don't have any apple pie recipes, but producer Chad and I talked about this yesterday. We had a great discussion about our discussion about apple pie and the people that were wrong and twisted in saying that they are going to said they're going to put cheese on their apple pie, American cheese, cheddar cheese, whatever. Producer Chad and I thought that we might participate, and we test it. We may test it over the 4th of July. We're talking about meeting up sometime either the 3rd or the 4th and testing cheese on an apple pie. Because neither one of us yesterday could believe any of you do that. We still think all of you probably need an exorcism, but we've heard more and more people. I've heard more people say that they've actually heard of cheese on an apple pie before. So whatever. I don't know where you people were raised. Maybe you're raised in a barn. I don't know, but cheese on an apple pie sounds very wrong, but we may try it on your behalf. But no recipes today. All right, good to have all of you here. Oh, we didn't do the question of the day. We'll get the question of the day in a moment. Let me bring into the program my first guest of the day. Anton Chaikin is a historian, author, and I want you to catch, if you're a history buff, that you want to know the title of this book with Anton Chaikin, and I'm going to read it in its entirety. Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress, from Franklin to Kennedy, Volume 2, the 1830s to the 1890s. Anton Chaikin, historian and writer, in the green room, and comes to the stage. Anton, welcome in, sir.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. It's great to be here as we get closer to 4th of July. It's very appropriate.
Well, I appreciate you hopping here on the program. As a student of history, you've written this book here is Volume 2. Where obviously, there's a Volume 1. And this is a book that kind of puts the perspective of a certain segment of history. Talk about that, the segment of history that Volume 2 is about. And it's you go from Franklin to Kennedy, 1830s to the 1890s. Talk about that era. Why did you write about that particular era in Volume 2?
Well, that's when we used our sovereignty to build our great industries and get the power of the United States on behalf of our own people and really mankind. In the Cold War, the United States was suckered to give up our sovereignty and our authentic influence in the world. And we have to use history, such as the books that I've done in depth proving how we did get our power. We have to use history to regain our identity and our power. The British Empire faction that we fought against to get our country powerful, that includes both so-called right-wingers and so-called left-wingers. And they said that America was the same thing as the European empires that were ruling over the colonial countries in the world. And the right wing argued that nationalism in poor countries was just communist propaganda, and that we should go on the side of the British and French empires and not have any thought of our own interests or our own sovereignty. The leftists argued that there was never anything, the USA never really existed as an independent country and a force for progress for our own people and for foreign countries. We simply exploited and enslaved people of color. Both sides were used for this British faction against our sovereignty, the globalists. So my historical work proves in depth that it was the nationalists who built our great industries after the nationalists had won our independence from Britain. Mm-hmm. They against the globalist financiers who tried to stop us. They built our steel industry, our electrical industry. They used tariffs for this purpose, as well as their own strategies. They built the petroleum industry. They built all the railroads to begin with. And the globalists, after taking over a lot of these industries, these financiers, took down our industry after they killed Kennedy. Kennedy was the last great nationalist. And this is both parties. We had really good leadership from time to time that understood what America represented uniquely in the world as a force for progress and improvement.
You can go back. Oh, Anton Chaikin, my guest, if you're listening later on the podcast and you don't see it on the screen because you're only listening, he's a historian author who's written Who We Are. There's volumes 1 and 2, and the subtitles are quite lengthy, but there's sections of history. Anton, let me ask you, obviously we look back and we see this era of nationalism and how nationalism built the greatness of America. And then we fast forward into what we would call modern times. And we had Barack Obama famously on record that talked about that American ability that we're the greatest nation, and it's what he said. Well, all nations think that about themselves. So that spirit of nationalism was not visible under Barack Obama. Now you have fast forward Donald Trump, who seems to put an American first nationalistic agenda. Where do you see the modern era of history in comparison to some of these other eras of history? I mean, obviously, the American uniqueness has been poo-pooed for a while. And now it seems maybe to be coming back. Are we repeating history? Are we learning from history?
Well, let's look at the things that the United States contributed to the world. I'll single out electricity. We built the first power plants and shared that technology with the world. Nuclear science. We developed that and we shared that with Eisenhower and Kennedy both promoting that throughout the world. Nuclear power plants, nuclear science, and space travel, deep space travel. All of these really modern things. And we perfected railroads and things like that. All of this really modern technology, not just, artificial intelligence or something that is a fringe really in terms of advancing the world. The modern era came from the desire of Americans and our friends in other countries that wanted to rise against the empires. And what that means that we are in favor of every country rising, and we don't want to have wars. We have to shut these wars down. They are against our interests. We're being suckered. And the people that organized the intelligence for both the attack deep into Russia from Ukraine and the attack into Iran by Israel, both of those strikes were organized by the faction of globalists who want to stop any American president from getting peace and stability in the world and blowing the globalists out of power in the United States so we can rebuild our country. That's a trap by them. We need to shut these wars down. And we have to understand every American president that built this country, like Lincoln and like FDR, they really had the same point of view about this. Wanted to have peace in the world and the rise of other countries. We helped Japan rise with industry. What did Britain do? They set up they built the Navy for Japan to attack Tsarist Russia and the USA. That was their objective. Keep both of us out of the Pacific. So the empires are for war, and America, who built things to improve the lives of our people and shared it with others, America says, no, we have common interests with the rest of the world, and the globalists are a fraud, and they're bankrupt. Jimmy, this is something that people have to understand. This offshore banking system with $1 quadrillion of derivatives, and they're invested in speculation and various forms of covert warfare. And they control the drug trade as well. You want to stop the cartels in Mexico? We have a Senate report in 2012. Carl Levin from Michigan presided, and the report proved that HSBC, the globalist bank in Britain and US, were laundering the drug money for the cartels and the gangs that they set up in the United States. You want to stop that? You modernize Mexico, build it so that it could be like Japan south of our border. Let them have high wages and modern industry, and get rid of this feudalism that the globalists try to impose, like the slave owners did when they tried to build a southern empire. That was against us, the USA. We wanted sovereignty. We wanted tariffs to allow us to compete on our own soil with countries like Britain that had cheap labor. So that's the future of mankind, is for us to see from our history who we really are. We did crimes. We didn't need to massacre Indians who lived in villages where they were doing agriculture. But it was good for the United States to build a nationwide country. That wasn't to make an empire against the world. Slavery didn't build this country. It was a drag. It was a terrible drag. The slave owners tried to stop us from industrializing. So these leftist lies and the so-called right-wing lies about nationalism doesn't exist. Remember, the Republican Party was changed from Lincoln's point of view about protectionism and went with the globalist free trade idea. That was crazy. That was the domination, like, of the Dulles brothers and people like that.
Yeah. The voice you hear if you're listening to the podcast later on is Anton Chaikin. The name of the book is called Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress, From Franklin to Kennedy, Volume 2, 1830 to 1890s. He was the history editor for the Executive Intelligence Review from 1995 to 2015. He co-authored a book called George Bush, the Unauthorized Biography. You can find a lot of Anton Chaikin's work out there. But again, the latest is called Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. One more quick question before we run short on time, Mr. Chaikin.
Sure.
Is obviously you look at history and you look at the rise and falls of empires around the globe. Do you think America's best days are yet to come, or do you think that we're in the waning days of a great empire, and like the fall of Rome, the fall of America? Where do you see we are at as a nation and our future? Give us a quick answer, sir.
Every political pundit knows that a great majority in this country wants to have the restoring of our industries, our modern power industries, and peace in the world. And so that for those reasons, they voted for Trump. Whatever the president is able to do or wants to do, that is our future. And we see the desire of people all over the world for those objectives. That is the dominant view in our country and throughout the world. There's plenty of countries in Europe have the same thing. And all the propaganda from the globalists saying that this is simply, populist nonsense or something. This is our history. This is who we are. That is our future. And I think we will succeed. I'm very optimistic. When you study the history and you see the good in history, don't just study evil and oligarchs and how they did wrong and secret societies. Study how we built civilization. What was the great science that allowed us to see what the universe is really all about? That's who we are. Human beings are in the image of God as creative people, and we got to make our country promote that kind of image of human beings.
Anton Chaikin, if folks want to copy the book, the latest book, or any of your work, where do they find you, and where do they find all the works that you've done?
Well, the book, the 2 volumes that I've written so far are on Amazon for paperback and Kindle, and I have a subscription service. It's Substack, AntonChaikin.substack, and I put something out to post every week, and I think you got to support this, especially homeschoolers. You want to get this material to show what our real history is.
AntonChaikin.substack, and also look up his name on the Amazon, and you can see the Who We Are series. He's at volume 2 now. I appreciate historian and author coming on the program, and optimistic about the future of America. See, take that, Mr. Pessimism out there. Optimistic. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Don't forget, coming up on the show, Sherry Cree, our realtor extraordinaire, is going to be with us. She's coming up at about 45 minutes after the hour. If you're watching in real time, you can see your clocks across her at a half hour past 8:30 the Mountain Time Zone, 10:30 Eastern Time Zone. You do the math. About 15, 20 minutes from now, we're going to have Sherry Cree, our realtor extraordinaire, with us on the program. You do not want to miss that. Also, my friends, I'm pleased to say that if you go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page, you will see that we put out the link yesterday, and I'll be giving you the direct URL. But just go to the fan pages and look at our golf tournament, 9th annual golf tournament for Rivers Promise, or charity work. That is coming up here just a couple of months away, and you don't want to miss that. Registration is open, and if you've been a sponsor of the golf tournament before, make sure you go to Rivers. We'll go to the link is broken right now on the website, and our web guy's working on that right now. But if you go to my website, go to facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page, you will see a link to get to the event of the golf tournament. So nothing like launching a golf tournament and the link not work, but we're working on that, and that will be up today. But go to facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page or facebook.com/Rivers Promise. You can find a link if you'd like to sponsor and or attend or play the golf tournament. It's coming up Friday, September the 5th. It's at Colorado National Golf Club in Colorado, and it's a glorious day, and you don't want to miss it. It's riverspromise.com is the organization, but go to facebook.com/riverspromise or facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey, and you can Jimmy Lakey fan page, and you can find the link to the registration It's kind of confusing. But yeah, the website link is screwed up right now. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. Please welcome to the program. Many of you look forward to this for hours and hours and weeks, and you're disappointed if she ever can't make it because of the flu or cold or other plans. A better offer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Carno Tuesday. And ladies and gentlemen, from her Hollywood studio trailer, it's Laura Carno. She's on the set of a movie today, aren't you?
Yes, this is my Hollywood studio trailer. You are correct.
We're starting rumors.
The lap of luxury, I'll tell you that.
How many square feet are you living in right now?
250.
250 square feet. You and Bill and the cats.
2 cats. Yeah.
2 cats.
Yes, but it's on acreage, so anytime we want, we just walk outside.
You walk outside. But if you walk out at night, in the middle of the night, you could get eaten by a coyote.
Or miller moths, honestly.
Oh, the moths.
I think we have more miller moths here than coyotes.
Okay. Is the house almost done? Because I'm getting worried about it. I don't want you to.
No.
250. You guys could be at fisticuffs here soon.
6 months.
6 months out. You got 6 months. Have you contemplated like a cruise or a vacation or something to kind of pass that 6 months along?
Okay, so here's the thing. Number one, we get along well. Number two, we see right out our window what is going to be happening in the new house. And it's not hard. It's different, but this isn't hard. I've done hard things before. This isn't hard.
This is not hard.
Everybody feels sorry for us. We're totally fine.
I don't feel sorry for you. I'm claustrophobic, and I'm like, you're too close. You're in my personal space. But I don't know.
That's that's a thing. But it's temporary in the grand scheme of things. If I live to 100, and this is 6 months,
Well, I'm glad you're not suffering. If you were, I'd take you to Africa. Then you could see people really suffering, and then would really feel sorry for you.
Yes, and note that we chose this. This wasn't like, this was our only choice on the planet, and we're stuck here. We made this decision. So, well,
your house you put up for sale sold quicker than you thought. A hot market there, you did. That's what happened.
Yeah, 3 days. Yeah, our neighborhood was kind of sitting there, and so we thought we needed to list quickly, and because it would sit there on the market and it sold in 3 days. So we said, oh crap. Okay, let's go to our plan Bs.
Let's go to the Hollywood trailer. All right, Laura Carno, my guest. Glad to have Laura here on the program. Coming up in just a minute, a little bit of time, we'll have Sherry Cree, our realtor extraordinaire. And she knows all about selling houses in 3 days. So let's see the segue what I did there. We'll talk to Sherry here in just a moment. All right, Laura, let's dive in. The big, beautiful bill. It ain't as beautiful as some people say. It's got some blemishes. It's kind of lipstick on a pig, but are we sacrificing and surrendering and say, well, we still got to pass it? Is that how we've come to the consensus that we don't really like it, but we're going to pass it anyway?
Well, I think with each individual vote, and obviously there's, Murkowski and Collins and people who need to vote their constituency or believe they need to vote their constituency to keep their offices. I think most people in both chambers of Congress are saying we need to pass this in order to get Trump's agenda. And I get that. I get that there's no perfect bill out there. Like we're choosing between big, beautiful bill and actual bill that Laura and Jimmy might like better. I get that there are those choices aren't there. But one of the things that I heard you talk about it earlier that they did in the Senate is they kicked out in the provision to have illegals kicked off of Medicare or Medicaid. And you look at that and you go, okay, hang on a second. This is for the poorest people among us. President Trump has made it very clear, and Republicans in Congress have agreed on the border policy, and that we don't want people coming through the border the wrong way. And a person would think, if you were following, A plus B equals C logic, you would say, if we all agree on the border policy and we don't think that people should come here the wrong way, they should come through the immigration process the proper way, we should all be able to agree that we shouldn't pay them a bunch of extra money if they are here illegally. It just doesn't make sense to me. And so that was one thing that happened this morning. I just saw a Chiron on the news a couple minutes ago while you were finishing up with the author, that they say they have the vote. So, we'll see what goes on in the next hour or two. But bigger than this, Jimmy, it's like, remember when Trump got elected and Elon Musk came in and was doging everything and finding all this waste and fraud and all this, the USAID stuff. Remember how we all had a little bit of pride that, okay, finally, our federal government is going to dial back to what it used to be and what it should be and the proper size. And that just seems like it's gone out the window. And I guess that's the disappointing part.
It's the big, beautiful bill does have some blemishes. And, a lot of folks feel like and I can kind of understand why Elon got upset. Elon risked life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, his fortune, his sacred honor, and found out that all the cuts that he found that could be made in the size and the scope of government, the members of Congress were not necessarily that excited about that. And at some point, Laura, we're going to have to cut the size of government. I mean, we cannot continue to do this. A top-heavy government, we're eventually going to topple over into bankruptcy. Some people think we're closer than that. You sent me a quote by Milton Friedman. Maybe it was Elon Musk who kind of understood that these are dangerous times. And I don't see that they're not as worried as we are in Washington, D.C. They're just not as worried.
Right. Every dollar, and this is the nature of the Friedman quote, every dollar the government spends is what we pay in taxes. So whether they're spending direct money, they are leveraged, it's bonds, it's whatever, inflation. That is the true tax on people. And when you look at where your taxes are going, and Elon started off with some pretty horrible things, seeing what our money was being spent on. Now, if you got rid of all that stuff that Elon was looking at in the beginning, that's just shaving it off at the margins. But we have to look at the big entitlement programs and say, is Social Security, just to use that as an example, is Social Security the best way for people to save for their retirement? And I think we all can agree that if you took all the money that was taken out of your paycheck and set aside for you for Social Security, it is not close to what was taken out of your checks. So it's not the best for people. And it is not the proper role of the federal government to plan our retirement for us. So number one, not the proper role. Number two, it's bad for people. So which group of politicians is going to have the intestinal fortitude to say, George W. Bush started this and he was mocked for it, that people at a certain age should be able to opt out and do their own thing and, let Social Security kind of wind down, paying the people who've paid into it, but it should be able to be wound down and be out of the federal government.
Well, it's hopefully one day we'll get to it. Again, I like the tax cuts being made permanent. That's something always funny. They always pass a tax cut. They always sunset them, but a spending bill never has a sunset on it. We're still at, I would just wish somebody would make the argument on the floor of the Senate of the House. Hey, could we go back to pre-COVID spending levels? And yet that would be considered a draconian cut. And that's just the way Washington, D.C. works. And I asked this question earlier, Laura. You have Chuck Schumer on the floor, the Democrats saying they're going to starve children. People will die without health care. Does anyone still believe that? I mean, we don't have to like the big, beautiful bill, and we can think it's lipstick on a pig, and the pig's still pretty ugly. But does anybody really believe? Well, I guess somebody does, but isn't that playbook old? They're going to throw grandma off the cliff.
I think that at the high levels on the Democrat Party side, they don't believe it, but they've got to have polling that says that it's still a good talking point with people who don't pay as much attention to politics. There's a commercial on this morning on the news, and it was that it wasn't throwing grandma off the cliff, but it was, a little old lady and her family was taking care of her, and we can't have her benefits cut. And that's not who it's going after. And so these ads and messages and memes and all that stuff, they're so misleading. And it really is up to people to educate themselves on what's in it. And that's the sad part is, a lot of people just don't have the interest in digging into it. And they've got a lot of things going on in their lives. They don't have the time to dig into it like you and I do.
It is good, I guess. We can talk about Murkowski or Tom Tillis or Rand Paul. At least in our party, I guess, it frustrates the hell out of us sometimes, but they have the right to dissent. You look at the other side. If you dissent there, man, you are blackballed. You are shoved to the corner. Everybody's got to walk lock, stock, and barrel straight forward. Or they'll go after your mental cognitive ability like they do John Fetterman. I mean, John Fetterman's the one modern-day Democrat that dares to cross the party bosses, and he's lambasted by his own colleagues. We may get upset with Murkowski, Collins, Rand Paul, and these people at times, but at least we're not doing personal assaults on them as far as their integrity and reputation. We disagree. You have that right on our side to disagree, and I have to respect that.
Yeah. Republicans tend to be a little bit more independent minded, where the Democrats tend to be a little bit more a part of the hive mind. But yeah, that John Fetterman, I could never have predicted this because how everything started and how they were pushing him in, even though he was not well. But my goodness gracious, he's pro-Israel, and he's calling out his own side on their anti-Semitism, and it's something. It's a sight to behold. If folks haven't been paying attention to that, just look up some YouTube clips of him going against his own party. It's something. It's quite spectacular.
Speaking of a sight to behold, I'd like to point our attention to the chat room. Oliver has jumped in here, and his comment of the morning is hot, hot, hot. He's referring to you, Laura Cardinal.
Oliver. Oh, I thought it was the temperature. I will, as last week, Oliver, I will let my husband know that you also think I'm hot.
Yeah, Oliver's there. Yeah, that's I'm sorry. I just saw that pop up, and I was trying to keep a straight face as we're talking Texas and the Republic and the history of America, and Oliver's over there getting hot and bothered looking at Laura Carno in her Hollywood movie trailer.
I mean, conservative politics are hot, so
yeah. Well, we got to put a Chad. Can we hijack her title like you hijack mine every week? And there's going to be Laura, the sexiest woman on conservative radio, according to television, according to Oliver. All right,
Laura. A long subtitle.
You ought to see some of the ones he puts on me. I never see him because my screen's real small, but evidently today I am the adorable incorrigible. Oh, in your honor. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
I appreciated that producer Chad put that up since it's Carno Tuesday. You are the adorable incorrigible. Note, started with the word incorrigible.
Yes, but I am adorable as well. So, and Oliver, you may not think I'm hot, but I'm sure some of those ladies out there in the chat room probably are stumbling in their walk with the Lord if they look at the screen. So, ladies, avert thine eyes.
Likely.
Be looking. All right, you sent me a story about Jared Polis, our esteemed governor here in the state of Colorado. Anybody nationally listening, if you're not in Colorado, please, if you ever hear the name Jared Polis, you should think, bad governor, should never be president, Colorado does not want to harm America, so we don't want Jared Polis's policies to be go national, so vote against him. However, as a governor, he's been trying to put a legacy project together and, save his identity and who he is. And that old Governor Polis back in the day, turns out it's a boondoggle, $29 million.
So for those who haven't been in the Capitol Hill area in Denver, there's the Capitol. It looks just like any Capitol in any state. And then there's a park, and then there's City Hall, and then there's a bunch of, big buildings, and it's a typical downtown Capitol type area. And if you're at the Capitol and you want to go to lunch, or you want to go over to one of the other government buildings, you do like normal people do, and you go to the stoplight and you push the button and you wait till it says walk and you walk across. So Governor Polis, the governor who called us selfish bastards during COVID, let's not forget, he had an idea for a $29 million bridge, and Colorado's broke, so they couldn't find any money for it. So he's using COVID funds, by the way, for this. And it's a $29 million bridge that basically goes over the park to get to the places that if you want to go to Subway for lunch or whatever. $29 million. Nobody was in favor of this except for Jared Polis. So I saw this story this morning. There's this accessibility advocate, and he's a dude in a wheelchair. And he testified in favor of it because they asked him to. So he's in the committee room testifying, and all of a sudden it occurs to him, accessibility was not the point here. Accessibility was added as an afterthought. So he does this interview with Channel 9 News, which is the NBC affiliate here in Denver, and he said, look, I understand the optics. I'm a 57-year-old Black guy in a wheelchair. I understand that I'm the guy that they want as the poster child, but I wish I'd never testified in favor of that because it's a boondoggle. And I thought, God, the one guy, totally sympathetic character, checked all their boxes that they could get to testify, goes against it and says he wishes he'd never testified in favor of it. I just thought it was the funniest story and very on brand for Jared Polis.
If you know Denver and the metro area, the homeless community probably loves it. It gives another surface to sleep on, because another place to poop. I mean, I can see this bridge is going to really be, if it moves forward, it's going to a boondoggle and a toilet.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said. If I was still going downtown on a regular basis, I wouldn't use it because it would be full of needles and poop. So
yeah, it's a nasty place. This is Jared Polis' Colorado. His real legacy project isn't the bridge, but it's all the needles and the poop that are probably going to be on that bridge if it ever gets there. And thus, America, you heard it here. We're warning you about Jared Polis. Christopher jumps in. Remember the slogan, fix the damn roads, Polis?
Yeah, to the extent that he said that came from John Caldera at the Independence Institute, who said it first. And Polis thought it was a good thing to say, even though he doesn't care about fixing the roads.
Doesn't care. If he cared about the roads, our roads would be much better here in Colorado. They are a pathetic thing. Laura Carno, it's a pleasure. Enjoy the Hollywood movie trailer. I'm sure the makeup crew's coming in there very soon to get everything straightened out and all that fun stuff. So we'll catch you next week. And Oliver sends his best.
Okay. Thank you, Oliver. Talk to you guys. Bye.
We'll talk to you later. Laura Carno, lauracarno.com. Fastercolorado.org is the other website you can go to. Faster Colorado is a great organization. They are an organization that helps protect children in Colorado on the school campus. And so they have agreements and arrangements, and they actually train school staff, including, just various staff members, that how to protect kids and even carry weapons on campus, and very clandestine, if you will. Laura doesn't necessarily tell you all the school districts that she's involved with, but let's just say there's a big movement in Colorado to keep the kids safe. And Laura Carno's a part of that, and fastercolorado.org is the website to do that, fastercolorado.org. All right, as you can see from the people commenting, Oliver and Sander Girl is up there. She just says she reposted her stream on Twitter. We appreciate that. Don't forget, thousands of earballs and eyeballs listen to the show every day. You have the podcast version, which you'll hear if you're listening, watching the live show on the YouTube or the Rumble or the Facebook. That's all well and good. But later in the day, the audio-only version is a podcast, and it goes up on iHeart. It goes up on the Apple Podcast. It goes up on all the platforms out there that are just so fantastic for your podcasting. So make sure you like us, subscribe to us, download us on the podcast platform. And if you're listening on the podcast platform, don't forget 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time every morning, Monday through Friday. Good Lord willing, we go live and stream, and you can watch the video portion of the program and watch all of our guests. So join us live or listen later. It doesn't matter. But either way, thousands of earballs listen to us every day, and we appreciate you doing that and appreciate you being a part of the program. Speaking of being a part of the program, you've been hearing me talk about realtor extraordinary Sherry Cree, and she joins us. Her website, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry jumps back onto the program. Good morning, Sherry. How are you?
Good morning, Jimmy. Happy to be here.
Great to have you. Let's dive into a couple of topics. We tell everybody to go to homeswithsherry.com, and I want people to remember to do that. Let's talk about the real estate market. How is it looking out there? Is this are things bouncing back in the good, the bad, the ugly? Is it a buyer's market, seller's market? Where are we at?
So good and bad depends on who you are and what you're trying to do. But do you remember that back in March, I was advising all the sellers to put a house on the market early spring. That is always a peak season for buyer activities. So that was the case this year also. And after late April, the market had cool down again. And then now we are at the beginning of the third quarter. The rest of the year will be cooler than the first half of the year.
So let's talk. You said it depends on who you are. There's the buyer's perspective, there's the seller's perspective, and sometimes one of those groups can say it's great, and the other person says it's awful. What is our seller's perspective right about now? What does the market mean to the sellers right now?
Right. For the sellers, it is buyer's market. It's shifting to buyer's market, and if we look at the recent couple of weeks of listings that went under contract, more than half of the listings that went under contract recently had price reduction to get there. And then more than 60% of the listings that has closed recently had a seller concession being negotiated. And it's taking about 11 to 15 showings to receive an offer, the acceptable offer. So it's taking about 24 days average to go under contract, which means 3 weekends. So this is all talking about Denver metro area data, but also I cannot emphasize enough the importance of looking at the micro market. So one neighborhood in Denver metro area may be completely different from another neighborhood. And then also attached homes are having harder time selling. The attached home, condos, townhouses are having harder time selling in the current marketplace. So from the seller's perspective, the concept is the same in any market. But it's more important to prepare your home to hit the market before you hit the market as close to perfect as possible. Do not hit the market prematurely, like, oh, let's just put it on the market and see how it goes before you're fixing everything or cleaning the windows, staging the property. You want to be kind of like a bride for the wedding. You want to be in the best shape possible to hit the aisle. And also important to price, well. Currently the strategy to let's put it on the market for what our neighbor's house sold last year, and then see what happens, because I'm sure we have a value. But if you hit even slightly overpriced, you're competing with newer listings coming on the market at a very aggressively priced. So that's the seller's perspective right now. I cannot emphasize enough.
So if you're a seller, don't just put it out there because it's not in your favor right now. You need to get that house tidied up, staged, and Sherry can help you with that. HomesWithSherry.com. You want to hit the market ready to go, like a bride on her wedding day. You need to be ready. You need to have that house ready to go because the buyers are coming in with an advantage. So let's talk about the buyer's advantage and the buyer's perspective here. It's one thing to have a buyer's market. Are there some in Colorado, of course? Are there any bargains? I mean, everything seems to be so high in Colorado. Can a buyer right now find what we would call a bargain that really is going to play well in the next 5 or 10 years? They could buy it now. Are there bargains on the market for the buyers?
Yes, definitely. I just put my listing under contract. The listing was appraised for $1.24 million back in January. And then we put it on the market for $1 million as a listing price. And the reason behind it is sellers did not want to just put a listing on the market in the current cool market and accommodate showings here and there. So they said that the listing price is the bottom price we can sell the house, and you have 1 weekend to market. We market it heavily with open houses, investor special, and then houses sold as is. And then that one went under contract. I cannot disclose the price, but over list price, because that list price is way below market value, so that we market it as the equity opportunity. You're buying the house with a huge built-in equity. So there are certain listings that certain opportunities when the seller is aware of the current market situation and then selling it for huge built-in equity. Now also the buyers are more buyers came to terms with the interest rates not going to come back to the 3%, 2.8% level in the long term. So we are seeing more permanent mortgage rate buy down cost negotiated as the seller concession than year or two ago temporary interest rate buy down negotiated for seller to pay for the cost of temporary buy down, which is like for next year, for 2 years, 3 years, your mortgage payment is set to be lower. So the buyers definitely a great time to shop for homes. Remember when the rate was 2.8%, some of the buyers were saying, I don't want to buy right now. Rates are great, but the prices are skyrocketing and I have to pay over asking price. I don't want to overpay. But now the buyers are saying, there might be a bargain, but I don't want to pay, 6.8% interest rate. So you just have to make, terms with what you're trying to do.
I read a story, and it has nothing to do with probably anything that you're going to do, but a guy wanted $1 million for his home, and he wasn't getting the offer, so he sold raffle tickets for like $10 a piece. He raised $2 million and drew the number, and so he made $2 million, and someone bought the house from him. So I don't know if that's a good idea.
You have to think out of the box a little bit in the current market, and then remember. Now the buyers, as a buyer's agent, we are negotiating. We are looking for opportunity. We are looking for assumable loans that the seller has 2.8% interest rate. And as a buyer's agent, we have a lot more work that we can perform to find the opportunities or negotiate for different ways to benefit the buyer. Now on the hot sellers market, buyers agents were like, belly up, laying on the counter, just help, we'll waive the inspection, we waive the appraisal gap, we can rent it back to the seller for free for 2 months. Please pick us that we want to buy your house, and then paying, $50,000, $100,000 over asking. So that time has gone. So even as a buyer's agent, it's important to have an experienced agent representing you, because there's a lot to navigate and negotiate.
All right. So a lot of folks in Colorado, if you're in Colorado specifically, Homes with Sherry, if you're from Fort Collins to Fort Lupton, Berthoud to Broomfield, Aurora, Parker, wherever you're at in the I-25 corridor, Sherry would love to help you. If you're moving out of state, she can help you find somebody out of state as well. If you're trying to move into state, homeswithsherry.com. But as a general rule, Sherry, I want people to call you if they're looking to buy or sell their home. I hope they will. homeswithsherry.com. What's some advice on finding a realtor? Obviously, somebody may be listening in New York and going, well, I wish Sherry lived next door to me. I'd have her as my realtor. Give some advice on finding the right realtor for you and your situation.
Right. So first of all, just a little clarification. You have to find the realtor that you can trust. And then that person, that agent, should be referring you to the best realtor possible for what you're trying to do. So even within the Denver metro area, I make a lot of referrals. So Jimmy, if I'm your trusted agent and then you come to me, and then if you say, I want to buy a house in Castle Rock, okay, and then that's not my expertise. I don't know everything about those markets, what's coming up, where the opportunities are, what's going on with the local economy. So I will make a referral to the Castle Rock agent to help you buy, a property in the best way possible. So a referral is part of our service, and referral is encouraged, and then also the financial arrangement for the compensation is standard in our industry. So if I try to hog all the businesses just because you come to me, it's not best for the consumer. So we have a referral arrangement as a part of the service, and we always look for your best interest, who should be the best person to represent you, depending on what you're trying to do and the area of the expertise. And then that being said, in a very shifting market, you should hire a realtor who you can trust the most. And then what that means is that when the market is shifting, you don't want a realtor to just give you one strategy when you list the property and then just sit on the market for 4 weeks. You need a realtor giving you weekly update on the shift of the marketplace. And then so the local expert, it would be the micro market expert would be the best realtor for you. And the good explanation to that is I tell my sellers, it's not relevant how much your neighbor's house sold a year ago. It's most relevant is you don't want to be in the bottom of the flow, the river flowing, and then you sit there and then it might be a very valid, pricing, but you sit there on the bottom and the new listing come with, better presentation, better pricing, and then they go under contract, first week and then flows through, and the next listing come in, and then they have better preparation and better pricing and come through. And then you don't want to be the stagnant one on the bottom.
HomesWithSherry.com. Again, if a referral service is part of it. So even if you're just watching going, man, can she help me? If she can't, she'll be honest with you, and she can give you a great referral of someone that you could trust in another area. So HomesWithSherry.com, HomesWithSherry.com. Sherry, we'll catch up soon. I appreciate you hopping on, and I hope people reach out to you. And again, if you're a buyer, you've got a little heads up advantage here. So call Sherry and let her help you find that home of your dreams. HomesWithSherry.com. Sherry Cree, HomesWithSherry.com. Again, referral service is part of it. So wherever you're at, if you just say, well, can she help me? Yes, she can. She can give you a referral, even if you're not in her immediate area. HomesWithSherry.com. All right, programming note, my friends. It's the first day of July. Year of our Lord 2025. 4th of July is coming up. Independence Day in America. And we will celebrate, producer Chad and I, by putting cheese on our apple pie or something like that. I think we will. Well, yeah, yes, cheese on the apple pie. That was just a conversation gone wrong yesterday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm holding in my hands here a globe, and what we call this is the meme roulette section of the show. We spin the globe, and we never know what memes are going to show up. We steal them. We're not paid highly enough, nor do we have the patience to go actually create our own memes. So producer Chad and I steal memes from across the internet, and we shamelessly admit that we're stealing them. So, ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, I bring to you the meme roulette portion of the show. And say it with me, if you will. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Here's first meme of the day. Here it is. Again, those of you who see the audio portion, I'm sorry you're going to miss this. Sorry, my screen just cut that off, and I can't read. I can't read. I'm never going to go golfing again. I got stung by a bee. Where? Between the first and the second hole. And then the cat says, well, then your stance is too wide. I am not laughing at that. That is producer Chad. Has no shame. I'm telling you. Your stance is too wide. Round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. I gotta blow the screen up again. I need a bigger monitor in the studio, don't I? Therapist, I need you to write letters to the people who have wronged you and then throw them in the fire. So the therapist says, I need you to write letters to the people who have wronged you and then throw them in the fire. Well, me, I say to the therapist, okay, but then what do I do with the letters? I've got some past producers like that, past program directors as well, that maybe I should write letters to and then throw them in the fire and then frame the letter. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows, my friends. A lot of reading in today's memes, right? Good thing I have my screen big now. How dare the actual Supreme Court limit the number of my fake Supreme Court powers? Every angry district judge was shouting that this week. Very angry. The Supreme Court limited my power. I was running my own fake Supreme Court powers. And yeah, they're upset. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. From the Babylon Bee, now you know. District Court has issued a nationwide injunction against the Supreme Court ruling. I was waiting for some judge to do that last week. Is there going to be a judge that is going to rebuke the Supreme Court? I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Well, here's another one I get to read again. Can someone please stop asking how much dumber Democrats can get? Because they're clearly treating it like a personal dare at this point. There's truth to that, isn't it? How much more stupid can they be? Oh, don't take that as a challenge. It's kind of like a hold my beer challenge for these guys. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, we have milked the meme machine dry, which means it's like trying to get milk out of a bull at this point. We have to wait 24 hours for the meme machine to actually start firing indeed. All right, good to have all of you here. I am the Indorgible Incorrigible, as the screen identifies me as, and it's been a pleasure to be here in the House of Lakey today, unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. Don't forget, there's a couple of ways you can support the program. Number one, if you'd like to advertise on the show, go to info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. Love to have you be a part of the program, wherever you're at, what industry you're in. Info@jimmylakey.com. Also, don't forget to donate to the cause, Rivers Promise, at riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. And also, if you go to our social media feed, we released kind of preemptively the registration and sponsorship link for our golf tournament for Rivers Promise. That's coming up Friday, September the 5th. Love to have you be a part of the golf event. Again, Friday, September the 5th. riverspromise.org. You can donate. We'll have the link up for the golf event coming up hopefully today on the website. In the meantime, it's posted at facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page or facebook.com/riverspromise. Friday, September the 5th. Love to see you at our golf tournament 9th annual event for that. And I'd love to see all of you there. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to wrap up today's program. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I hope you'll tune in tomorrow for another exciting edition of the Lakey Unleashed podcast streamcast. And then later on, if you want to listen to it, go to all the iHeartRadio app, the Spotify, listen to it and enjoy it in the podcast version of the show. Like us, subscribe us. We appreciate you. I really do. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. God bless you. God bless America. I'll see you tomorrow morning right here. Lakey Unleashed from the House of Lakey. God bless you. God bless America. Peace. I'm out of here.